Watch carefully. We're at the most exclusive poker game in the world. No limit, high stakes, by invitation only. Every player, world class. Every dollar on the table, $4 to $5 million at last count, their own money. In fact, it costs $500,000 just to sit down here. $500,000. This is the first time they've ever let cameras in. To these guys, poker is a blood sport, not a TV show.
We're like lions in there trying to take each other's throats out at the game.
Lions like top tournament players David Gray, Daniel Negreanu, and veteran Xiao Zhang, who transformed himself from a Colorado cook in 1980 to a world-class poker player today. Right now, the game is down to a face-off between the legendary Doyle Brunson and one of today's top challengers, Barry Greenstein. Barry, who's got a PhD in math and wins an average of $1 million a year, opens the betting with $6,000. Doyle must see something he likes. There's another $6,000 to prove it.
Gentlemen.
The opening bet surprised Dartmouth graduate Chip Reese, who arrived in Las Vegas with $400 in his pocket and went on to become the world's best poker player, arguably winning more money at poker than any man in history. But Barry, who made a bundle in computer software and donates every penny of his tournament wins to charity, doesn't flinch. He raises Doyle another $8,000. To players at this level, all the scratch doesn't mean squat.
It takes a special kind of person to be able to play really high-stakes poker. You know, you have to have a certain disregard for money, which all the great players do have.
Doyle wants 2 new cards. Barry draws 1. Now he's waiting for Doyle to make his move. There's another $8,000. It's back to Barry for the showdown. It's an inside straight, 7 high. Which beats Doyle in a close one. His inside straight is topped by that 5. Barry claims the pot, nearly $85,000 on just 1 hand.
That's known as a sucker hand.
No one knows better. Doyle Brunson, host of this high-stakes game, is to poker what Ali is to boxing, the greatest.
He is the patriarch of poker right now. Doyle has been around the longest, has played at the highest level the longest. He's amazing.
Doyle was one of the legendary Texas Rounders, the road gamblers who went around the Lone Star State in the 50s and 60s playing one game after another. They created modern poker, turning it from a seedy backroom game into big business, as well as making a lot of money for themselves.
Doyle's got enough $100 bills to burn up this whole damn building and never been broke. Might have been short, but every time we'd get short, we'd get us a ladder, and here we'd go.
Meet Thomas Austin Preston, alias Amarillo Slim, one of Doyle's fellow rounders and a living poker legend himself.
A lot of them that sit down with me anticipate losing when they sit down, so I try not to ever disappoint them any.
When Doyle and Slim started taking on all comers half a century ago, their chosen profession was less than respectable.
They thought that if a guy was a professional gambler, that he crawled out from under a rock or had a chain of hustling broads or dealt in narcotics or was some kind of bandit.
Never forget, a guy that I went to college with was a good friend, and we were coming down the street toward each other, and I saw him, and he actually went across the street to where he wouldn't have to, you know, I guess, say hello to me.
Ironically, it's poker's unsavory past that's a major reason the game has exploded into a phenomenon today.
A big part of poker's popularity has to do with the cachet of playing a game that tough guys and killers and sheriffs used to play. We still enjoy the fact that those kinds of characters, the Mississippi Riverboat gamblers and the Western gunslingers, played the game that we are now playing. It adds to the sexiness of the action.
Of course, a little Lady Luck from time to time helps out, too.
Or motion raise.
Anybody can wake up with a pair of aces and beat the best player on the planet.
Yes!
It doesn't hinder you if you're a 5'2" woman or a 90-year-old person. You move the chips back and forth with one level of skill or not.
You can start out a $3 player. If you're good enough and you have a bankroll, you can move up to be a $6 player, a $12 player. And if you're the best player, you will rise to the top. No politics, no boss, nothing's going to stop you.
It's a pretty easy game to learn the basic principles of, but it's the kind of game you could spend a lifetime trying to master.
And that's just what Doyle Brunson did. Originally, he wanted to be a pro basketball player, but a busted leg folded that dream. He started playing poker to pay the bills, learning, as all great players do, that poker is as much about the head as it is the hand.
Poker is about playing people. You can throw the cards right out the window. It's about playing people. It's taking advantage of their mind.
To get that advantage, Doyle began looking for tells, the mannerisms or behavior that can give away an opponent's hand.
You pick up all kinds of tells on people. I've always looked at people's eyes. I can't explain it exactly, but it's something about the eyes and also the heartbeat. You see a pulse, and you know that's something you can't control, is your heartbeat. And you know you get a guy's heart racing over there, and you know boom, boom, boom. Well, he's usually bluffing.
Even after he got married and started a family, Doyle kept playing. Only one thing ever stopped him: cancer. Back in 1962, doctors gave him 3 months to live. But Doyle beat the odds and survived.
Come on over here, Doyle.
The game was back on, bigger than ever.
I had a different feeling about life. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and that was I wanted to play high-stakes poker. And I realized that when I came out of that hospital, that's what I was going to do, and that's what I did.
As for Doyle's pal Slim, hustling was always his game, starting with pool. At 17, he was so good that during World War II, he toured army bases all over Europe giving exhibitions, among other things.
I beat all the GI shooting craps and running foot races and playing ping pong and playing cards and whatever you could do. I was in my mid-20s before I ever played poker. I mean, on the level that I played.
A level, by the way, that took no prisoners.
I never did go look for a boy that worked all week and made $1,000. I went for some rich guy that was a champion. I didn't need a sucker. I wanted a champion and make a sucker out of him.
Back home in Texas in the 50s, Slim and Doyle teamed up with another player, the late Sailor Roberts. Traveling across the state, they made poker history. By the time they cashed in their chips, the Lone Star State was left high and dry.
Man, we looked like a vacuum cleaner when we hit a town. We just sucked up everything insane.
The secret of their success and the history of poker BDS, before Doyle and Slim, in the next round. Doyle Brunson and his world-class poker friends play their high-stakes private game almost every day. But that doesn't mean outsiders can't play with them.
You could get into that game right now if you wanted to. Sit down with 100,000 and they'll welcome you with open arms. You don't have to feel at all intimidated about getting a welcome.
Of course not. Amateurs are the main source of all professional poker players' income, from Doyle Brunson on down. And as such, they are treated with respect. Well, sort of.
I say that you can shear a sheep a many a time. You can only skin him once. So if I just shear one of them cats, next year he's grown a new cop of wool and we can play again. But if you skin him, that's the tail end of him.
The pros never call an amateur a patsy or a sucker, at least not to his face. Instead, he's